And we are good to go on America Armed and Free, where we have the joy, the pleasure, and the honor of having with us Richard Marcinko, former Navy commander and former head of SEAL Team 6. In fact, you were the first head of SEAL Team 6, right?
Yes, I was.
How you like the music? A little different than you hear on most talk shows.
Dedicated, it makes me feel good, you know.
Cool.
And actually, you know, this is a kind of a sad weekend on the SEALs that you raised that one. This is a reunion weekend, the third weekend in July at Little Creek, Virginia Beach area, where we all gather. And, of course, we just had all of those deaths in Afghanistan. So there's kind of a sober moment and a realization what's going on.
Yes, there is indeed. By the way, that was a special sent for this interview from Tommy Cox, a fellow up in Maine, and who's an admirer of yours, and he wanted to make sure that you heard that and that he knew and that you knew that. We're going to go to the phones on America Armed and Free with Richard Marcinko. Chris, you're live on America Armed and Free with Richard Marcinko and Charles Heller. Your question for Mr. Marcinko.
Mr. Marcinko, excuse me. This is a real pleasure to talk to you, sir.
Well, thank you.
I know a friend of yours. You mentioned him in one of your books, Dan Cussiter.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I met him when he was running for sheriff in one of the most corrupt counties in California 4 years ago, and he talked very highly of you. And so this was very much an honor for me to say hello to you.
Do you have a quick question for him?
No, I just wanted to relay that comment.
Well, thanks, and I'm sure he's doing good out there.
Did he win?
I'm heading back in 2 weeks, so maybe I'll see him.
Tell him I said hi if you catch up with him. I haven't seen him in about 4 years.
Okay.
Did he win?
No.
No.
200.
The corrupt ones won.
I'm from Chicago. You don't have to explain that to me. Have a great day, Chris. Opens up a line for you at 790-2040. Richard, I want to ask you two questions of sort of a personal nature. I've read your autobiography, Rogue Warrior, and I think 8 of your 14 fiction books. Sorry, I haven't gotten all 14 yet, but you have a unique ability among all the people I know of to irritate some people. Now, I realize that you usually only irritate the incompetent jerks, but why operate that way in a way that makes enemies who are in a position to later perform a rearguard action against you?
Well, you know, if you're surrounded with your enemies, any way you move, you're attacking, and you know where they're at.
So I see. So get yourself surrounded by enemies, and that way you know where you stand.
Somebody once said that, Charles, that if I use your right name, I don't like you.
Okay, well, just call me Heller anyway. You managed to get away with a lot of things that most of us, if they tried them, would be probably called felonies. Is it just the bravado, or do you know a lot of people in places that get you out of jams, or is it just you don't care that much if you get in trouble as long as you reach your objectives?
Oh, well, actually, most people don't take time to figure it out, but I do a lot of homework. So I always have either the book of excuses or the waiver locker standing by that explains why, and/or I've done the homework so that if you want to dump me, I'm going to dump you harder.
I love the Unidir memo. I've used that in my own life many times based on your book. You might just take 10 seconds and explain what that is.
Well, that's a very good, I think, very functional Navy term. It's the Navy does a lot of independent steaming, ships at sea, but by themselves, not in formation. So consequently, they designed a Unidir, which is an acronym for unless otherwise directed. So you just tell your boss, hey, so you advise them, hey, if you don't say something else, here's what I'm going to do. And so you plan well in ahead and send it out and then turn off your radio.
Mm-hmm. I love it. And your pager and everything else, even if they have a pager made to not be turned off. Rudy, you're live on America Armed and Free with Richard Marcinko, former skipper of SEAL Team 6. Your question for Mr. Marcinko.
Oh, first I want to thank Mr. Marcinko for his service to our country.
Ditto.
Well, I had a good time.
There used to be a civil defense program in the United States, and I was wondering, is there one now, and if not, why?
I don't know why, but no, there isn't. In fact, what really infuriates me, when we went through the Y2K thing and every alert that comes up, and I can remember growing up, there was a sign on the building, it was down in the basement, and there were stockpiles of water and stuff, and that was the old bomb shelter for civil defense, and all of that has gone away. And I think that probably now that's where everybody goes to hide in federal buildings to smoke cigarettes they're not supposed to smoke in. It is one of those things that disappeared over the horizon, and I haven't seen anything come back to even make it look good. Look at the FEMA and look at all the problems that you have down in Florida. with all the hurricanes coming in. I mean, we are marshaling all the people in schools. I mean, we don't have real shelter systems anymore.
Right. Is something we should lobby for, or just do on our own, do you think?
Well, going with getting I guess back to Homeland under the new regime and the second reorganization structure, it basically said, the new sheriff said the new rules are he was going to focus on those things that would cause the most magnitude of damage, and the states would take care of the rest. So that almost told me that our 361 ports that we have that are very vulnerable, that a SEAL would know about, local populations and local tax dollars have to take care of it.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, and have a good day.
Richard, you have a pretty interesting scene in Vengeance, which is your latest book. By the way, where do you want people to get the book?
They can get it anywhere. I get royalties no matter what happens.
Okay, good. Well, that's a sure.
If it's convenient. I will say that the publishing world is gone like everything else in reorganization of structure, and so if you have a good independent store, bookstore that caters to you and knows to you, go there, because they're struggling hard against the big chains and against the Amazon.com and all those things. Right?
God bless freedom. In Vengeance, you have this scene about an exercise where you do a night parachute drop into a truck depot at a National Guard base and rig the trailers with fake explosives. As part of that scene, you comment on the vulnerability of our nation's truck fleet. Could you briefly tell us how bad is that, and would armed truckers who are no-nonsense shooters make much of a difference?
Well, yeah. I mean, to answer that question, when we're very vulnerable, for those that I guess live here on the East Coast, you see the trucks on the road, but you don't see the magnitude of them at all the big warehouses in Indiana and Ohio and out west, where the truck farms. You take a good gander at them, and you're looking at 600, 800, 18-wheelers standing by just in some stage of get ready for transportation, and they're rolling all the time. And